How's it going, everybody? ChaoticMeatball here, and welcome back to the channel. So, as I said at the end of my Blue Kaizo Ghost type challenge earlier this week, today I'll be doing a Bidoof only challenge in Pokemon Red and Blue. I know that most of you guys are probably thinking, wait a second, Chaotic, what do you mean Bidoof? Don't you know that a Generation 4 Pokemon isn't gonna be in Generation 1? And yes, it is. But guess what? In case you didn't know, there's actually a randomizer hack called Pokemon Red 721 that has every Pokemon from Generations 1 through 6, but I figured out the correct settings as to not change the base game, but keep randomized starters. But enough of that, let's go over what Bidoof can learn in this. Well, it's just a regular normal type, getting moves like Headbutt, Super and Hyper Fang, and surprisingly, Amnesia, which brings us down a big ol' rabbit hole of special attacks since Amnesia is broken in Generation 1 because it raises special, as opposed to the special defense that it normally raises in later generations and being split in a nasty plot. Bidoof gets some great special moves like Thunderbolt and Ice Beam throughout this run, so I'm thinking of going for that sort of set with a single stab attack for coverage to actually have something that's physical. It's a really simple way of going about the game, but I should be able to do extremely well because of Amnesia. Anyway, let me give you a refresher on the rules I use for my challenges. Rule number 1, I can only use Bidoof in battle, though I can use HM users outside of battle. Rule number 2, items are not allowed in battle but are outside of battle, aside from Pokeballs, to capture said HM users. And rule number 3, no glitches. Simple enough, so let's get into it. But make sure you like this video, subscribe since we're really close to 75,000 subscribers, and click the bell while you're down there to get alerts whenever I upload or stream. So, I don't actually have a choice of replacing a starter in this mod. I actually had to re-roll the save file over and over and over again until I managed to get myself a Bidoof as a starter. In this case, it replaced Charmander, meaning my rival will have Squirtle and eventually Blastoise throughout the run. This battle is extremely easy thanks to Tackle being a stab attack as opposed to Squirtle's Tackle, letting me take it out in a few moves and move on. Also, it's very creepy that Bidoof does not have a back sprite. Then again, God sees all. We also start out with Growl as well, which can possibly be useful at the beginning of this run, but I could also be completely incorrect, so we'll see. Moving onward, I also noticed that all of the Kanto Pokemon in this mod have different sprites, but most of them are actually really nice looking compared to the sprites that I'm used to in this game. But aside from that, I haven't really noticed any other changes. Either way, I moved up through Viridian Forest, getting close to level 8, but Lord knows I'm not going to be able to fight Brock at anywhere close to this level. He's got both a Geodude and an Onix, and I'm gonna need some more attacks to help me out since Tackle is likely going to run out of power points before I can beat both of them. Bidoof at least gets Defense Scroll at level 9, which could potentially be useful to block out some damage during the fight, but again, not enough to help me with damage dealing. Even so, I tried fighting Brock at level 15, and I got relatively close one of the times, getting Onix below half HP before getting KO'd, so I decided to keep going until I got Bidoof's next attack, that being Headbutt at level 17. This ended up being just the crutch I needed to pull off the victory, but just barely, as you'll see. Brock leads off with Geodude, who manages to take 6 Headbutts, the last of which being the critical hit to KO it as fast as possible. Bidoof's only taken 6 points of damage here, giving me plenty enough to take out Onix. Playing around Bide is super important here, not to mention that Growl doesn't decrease the damage he does with said Bide, and Defense Scroll doesn't increase Bidoof's resistance to the attack, so I'm kind of SOL when it comes to that. Bidoof also doesn't outspeed, so Headbutt flinches aren't gonna happen either. I get lucky enough to attack with trades where we're able to keep around the same HP, but I managed to pull ahead at the very end, taking out Onix at 4 HP remaining, obtaining the Boulder Badge, and allowing me to move on. I'm quite happy that I didn't have to overlevel for Brock, since I don't want to make the early part of this run a complete breeze. I did fight quite the number of battles on the way through Route 3 though, taking out every one of the trainers before grabbing me a Spearow for the Farfetch'd trade later on in Vermilion City. This mod also has a nice bonus of giving all Pokemon the ability to learn all HMs, though I still decided to go for the Farfetch'd and Lapras combo since I didn't want to rely on that. Either way, I continued going through Mount Moon, taking out all of the trainers before getting to the fossils. I chose the Dome Fossil since if I didn't, I'd be breaking the law, and we all know what happens when we break the law of the Dark Lord. With that said, I emerged with Bidoof at level 22, perfect level for Misty by the way, but I'm not sure if I'm able to take her on at this low of a level despite being on par with Starmie. I decided to try at least after taking out her gym trainers, getting to level 23 in the process, but it didn't go so well. Staryu was promising, but Starmie is just too good at dealing out damage at this point, so it's time to take out the rival again. By this point, Bidoof has Hyper Fang, doing insane damage to Pidgeotto as he lands a tackle, hitting another before I KO and leading to Abra. It goes down to a single Hyper Fang, as does Rattata, leaving just Squirtle. It's also a 2-shot, destroying him and winning the fight. Well, not too bad if I say so myself. Now to get through routes 24 and 25, and then we can challenge Misty. Well, that's what I would say, but I'm in for a little bit of a disappointment. There is a Mankey here on the 5th battle of the Nugget Bridge, and I can't seem to take it out very easily. Mostly because it's able to outspeed and KO me in one shot, so there's nothing I can really do about that aside from level up and raise my speed. I figured I'd see if I could take out Misty again, but Bidoof is still only at level 23, so there really isn't much to do differently about that fight. Just a wee bit better luck and getting farther with Starmie, but not too much farther. I moved back over to Route 4 to grind on the wild Pokémon, going from level 23 to 27. This is plenty enough for me to go ahead and take out Misty, as she leads with Staryu, letting me bash it in with Headbutt, taking very minimal damage before Starmie comes out. She outspeeds and hits Water Gun as I go for Hyper Fang, doing half damage as she follows up with Hydro Pump? I don't recall her having such a powerful move this early on, but that's fine. It does a bunch of damage, taking me down to 9 HP as I land another Hyper Fang, leading to the final turn. Fortunately, that final turn isn't against me as she misses with Hydro Pump, letting me follow up with a third Hyper Fang and win the fight. Whew, that's good stuff. Still not too overleveled at this point, especially for a weak Pokemon like Bidoof. I forgot to save after beating my rival last time since I reset after the Mankey KO, but that battle was even easier at a higher level, letting me get through routes 24 and 25 and get the SS ticket. Alright, progression is going great. Route 6 wasn't a problem at all either, leading to me to Verilion City. I made the trade for Farfetch'd, grabbed the bike voucher, and headed into the SSN for some fights and a rival battle. Honestly, it's not even a fight, since everything goes down to a single Hyper Fang, even at the measly level 34. A stab Hyper Fang is way too powerful for Pidgeotto, Raticate, Kadabra, and Wartortle, giving me access to the HM for Cut and the 3rd gym. I was totally prepared to take on Lieutenant Sturge's team of Voltorb, Pikachu, and Raichu, but for some reason he just had a single level 28 Voltorb. I even reset to see if that was it, since I saw that I won and I was like, wait a second, where'd the Pikachu and Raichu go? I guess the randomizer was confused with Lieutenant Sturge's yellow team of a single Raichu and assigned the level to Voltorb, since, of course, the options for Red 721 also include having the yellow levels and Pokemon, so I must have messed something up. Oh well, I guess it's not going to be perfect, but that explains why Starmie had Hydro Pump during the Misty fight. During the path through Route 9, Rock Tunnel, Route 10, and Route 8, I began to start skipping trainers so that I could see how low of a level I could take out each gym leader. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me in the bum. By the time I've made it to level 40, Bidoof's got both Thunderbolt and Amnesia available in my arsenal, so I went ahead and tried to take on Erika. This didn't go perfectly. I still managed to get to her last Pokemon in Vileplume, but at pretty low HP, that didn't end up working out. So I went ahead and reset, then grabbed the TM for Ice Beam from the girl on the top of the department store. She's got some nice TMs in exchange for the drinks, so I grabbed that and decided to take out the Rocket Hideout as well. Just shy of Giovanni, of course, before challenging Erika once again. Erika leads with Victory Bell, so I immediately start off with Amnesia. She outspeeds and hits Razor Leaf before that, but I'm able to survive that and a Vine Whip with half HP before taking it out with Ice Beam, leading to Tangela. Bind is a bit of an irritant, but at least it does very minimal damage, eventually letting me get an Ice Beam in to take it out, leaving just Vileplume. Bidoof outspeeds, KOing immediately, and winning me the Rainbow Badge. Good stuff. Level 43 is a little higher than I had expected to be, but then again, I probably could have done it lower if I had grabbed Ice Beam straight away and not taking out the majority of the trainers in the Rocket Hideout, but that's not a problem. Giovanni's up next, and I'm sure that you can tell that his team is easy, especially with Ice Beam. Both Onix and Rhyhorn are one-shots after an Amnesia and Ice Beam. and Kangaskhan is a 2-shot, only delivering a light attack before I manage to KO it with Ice Beam and get out of there with the Silph Co. Pokemon Tower is up next on the docket, so is another rival fight. So let's rip apart something other than Eradicate, who's likely buried here. Yippee! I mean, it is kind of depressing when you think about it. Gary, or your rival name, whatever you inserted there, likely caught that Rattata on Route 1 and had it since the beginning of his adventure besides his starter. And now it's dead, so he's probably in a very hard grieving state. I couldn't imagine if this was a longer RPG made today and what sort of character development would come out of that, but I'm not even gonna get into it because that's too much for a Pokemon video. He leads with Pidgeotto, so I went for Amnesia, outspeeding Pidgeotto and only getting hit once before nailing a Thunderbolt, KOing and leading to Growlithe. Thunderbolt is also a one-shot on Growlithe, Ice Beam is on Execute, Ice Beam is again on Kadabra, and Thunderbolt is a one-shot on Wartortle, finishing the battle in pretty tip-top shape. I'm able to sweep through the area as well thanks to Thunderbolt and Ice Beam because I'm not having to worry about using normal-type attacks on Ghost-type Pokemon, eventually getting... Hold on a second. Why the heck is the Marowak a Zapdos? Well, at least I have Ice Beam to get him out of the way, but dear lord, what are these odd occurrences happening throughout this mod? Weird stuff. Anyway, I'm able to grab the Poké-Flute from Mr. Fuji, letting him go on his merry way as I go on my merry way, and his merry way is just going to be the house, so I should have just said my merry way, but I digress. Fortunately as well, Snorlax doesn't end up being like a Moltres or Mewtwo or anything, letting me go down the cycling road and down into Fuchsia City. Koga's trainers certainly weren't pieces of cake, but I was able to get through them, making it to Koga himself at level 47. He leads with a Coughing at level 44, so I immediately go for Thunderbolt, hitting 3 of them as he goes for 2 X attacks, and gets KO'd and leading to Muck. Clearly, I'm not going to have any luck if I do not go for Amnesia right now, so I did so after he went for Acid Armor. He goes for an X attack as well as a Screech as I set up 2 more Amnesias, swapping for Thunderbolt as he hits Sludge for nearly all of my HP, letting me hit a Thunderbolt for over half. Wow, even at plus 6 it's not a one-shot, but it does paralyze, letting me KO and move on to his second Coughing. This goes down very easily thanks to being outsped and being nailed by a plus 6 Thunderbolt, leading just Wheezing. He goes for Toxic, giving me the chance to hit a Thunderbolt, but of course I get a stupid critical hit. This basically makes none of my boosts matter, so poison damage does a little bit of the sliver that I have left, but of course Koga's an idiot. He goes for an X attack and I finish him off with a non-critical Thunderbolt, winning me the battle with only 9 HP and a sliver of my dignity. Sliver? I don't even know how to say that anymore. Oh well, way to go Bidoof. Even while being 3 levels lower than Wheezing, he's able to pull it off super well. After grabbing the HMs for Surf and Strength, it's finally time for the Silph Company. I figured now was a good time to pick up the levels after being behind on Koga, taking out all of the trainers in here and getting to level 54 before going after my rival. It was super easy to set up 2 Amnesias against him since he wastes a turn with Whirlwind, hitting a quick attack before I finally go for Thunderbolt, KOing and beginning the sweep from here. For some reason though, I go for Ice Beam on Growlithe, letting him get an opening to hit Flamethrower before I swap back to Thunderbolt, KOing and leading to Execute. Ice Beam's a KO and Execute, Thunderbolt's a KO and Alakazam, and Thunderbolt finishes off Blastoise, winning the fight in short order once again. Good stuff, now for the boss once again. He leads with Nidorino, so I go for 2 Amnesias this time instead of 3, letting him pump 2 double kicks into me before going for Thunderbolt, KOing and sweeping the rest of team, nailing Thunderbolt on Kangaskhan for a one-shot, Ice Beam on Rhyhorn, and Ice Beam on Nidoqueen for the win. Not bad at all, I'll take a quick win, especially against an idiot like Giovanni. And now there's not really too many major fights to go, since we only have 3 more gym battles, a rival battle, and then the 5 league battles, but those are probably going to be relatively hard since we're getting into the late game with a single Bidoof. I can't imagine it being super easy. To be honest, I was worried about whether Bidoof was going to be able to handle Sabrina's Psychic-type Pokemon at this level, but she's actually not all that bad. I did fail the first attempt though, but the second attempt was just fine since I was able to set up 3 Amnesias, 3 Psybeam, and 2 Reflects, sweeping from there after taking a Psychic, pumping Thunderbolt and Kadabra, and leading to Mr. Mime. He goes for Substitute, hitting a Thunderbolt to take the sub out before taking a Psychic, finishing it with Thunderbolt and leaving just Venomoth. It goes for Gust, barely not one-shotting even through a +6 boost to Bidoof's special. How did that not KO? But it turns out we had a speed tie and I was able to outspeed, hitting one more Thunderbolt to finish the battle. Huh. I expected her to have an Alakazam, but I think the mod is still reading data from Yellow version, where Sabrina only has 3 Pokemon and Abra, Kadabra, and Alakazam, because they're also the same level as those would be in the vanilla version, but it's keeping the red and blue team? I really don't know what's going on here, but I digress. So, after flying back to Pallet Town, surfing down to Cinnabar Island, and taking out the Pokemon Mansion, it's already time for Blaine. Bidoof's at level 60 and should be able to take care of him quickly with Amnesia and Thunderbolt. He leads with Growlithe, going for Crunch as I go for Amnesia. We trade back and forth twice more until Bidoof's at +6 special, letting me go for Thunderbolt for the KO, and Ponyta and Rapidash also go down in sequence, winning the fight and telling me that this mod definitely needs some debugging, since it's again rating 3 Pokemon like it would in Yellow. I'll have to see if I can get that fixed by the next time I do a challenge in this. With all that being said, I went straight back to Viridian City and took out Giovanni's trainers, fighting him at level 61. He's got a full team of ground types and ground type moves, which aren't gonna hurt that much, but what is going to hurt is an Ice Beam getting shocked right into their faces. So 2 Amnesias is enough to sweep, running through his whole team with Ice Beam, taking out Rhyhorn, Dugtrio, Nido... Oh, huh. Didn't expect to get destroyed that quickly with Double Kick. Guess I'll try again. I decided to go for only 1 Amnesia this time before going for Ice Beam, and it was plenty enough to take out Rhyhorn before leading to Dugtrio. I didn't expect it, but he goes for Bulldoze of all things, so clearly new moves were also added to this mod. I really don't know what I clicked on when I was setting up this save file. Still going down to Ice Beam though, leading back to Nidoqueen. It goes for Double Kick, still doing a bunch of damage, but fortunately it's not a critical like it was in my first attempt, so it does a bit, but goes down to Ice Beam all the same, leaving just Nidoking and Rhydon. He goes for the former, as he uses a Guard spec, not the best choice since I'm still able to one-shot it with Ice Beam, and Rhydon comes out right after. It goes for Takedown, still outspeeding, which is pretty surprising. Barely missing the KO though on me, before I managed to send out one last Ice Beam, taking out his final Pokemon and winning the Earth Patch. Thought I was gonna have to maybe go through some optional trainers around the region to get through this fight because I needed a higher level, but I'm still at a relatively nice low level for the league. But I'm just gonna chalk that up to Amnesia and the deadly combo of Thunderbolt and Ice Beam because this is kind of broken for Gen 1. Alright, so 6 more major battles to go. The Rival, the Elite Four, and the other Rival champion fight. First one up to bat is Rival 6 though, and he's not too bad at this point, having a team around the same level as Giovanni. He leads with Pidgeot, outspeeding and going for Roost. Shocking, even with later generation moves, the Gen 1 AI still has no idea how to go for healing moves on turns where it's not at full HP. You know, Gen 1. I go for Amnesia, setting up another after he goes for Agility, then the fun begins. He lands a critical wing attack as I go for Thunderbolt, KOing and leading to Rhyhorn. Bidoof outspeeds and lands Ice Beam with Growlithe coming in third, going down to Thunderbolt. I swap back over to Ice Beam for Execute, leading to Alakazam, who unfortunately confuses me with Psybeam. Bidoof hits himself twice in a row before finally getting off a Thunderbolt at 15 HP, but it's not enough as Alakazam goes for a Recover, where Bidoof hits himself again and goes down. Alright, so as long as I don't get confused, I should be fine, and maybe +6 with Amnesia would be good. Second attempt, and it does end up working, as Pidgeot goes for another Roost as I go for that third Amnesia, and the fight just goes the same from there, getting to Alakazam once again. He goes for Psychic instead of Psybeam, not having a chance to confuse, so Bidoof is able to go for a Thunderbolt, doing only half because it's a critical hit. Probably would have been a near KO if it wasn't for that, but he uses Reflect for the follow-up, giving me a clear opening to nail one more for the KO, leaving just Blastoise. He goes for Bubble. Yeah, Bubble. Before I go for Thunderbolt once more, KOing in one shot and winning the fight. You'd think if Misty Starmie at the second gym has Hydro Pump, that so would frickin' Blastoise. Maybe with the updated moveset he'd have Hydro Cannon, but why the heck does he have Bubble? Not a problem, I guess, for me, because I'm not gonna have to deal with it again. I just hope he's more challenging as the champion. One victory road later, and I'm in the Elite Four at level 66. I've got 9 rare candies, but I don't think I need them at the moment. I decided to use them to abuse the badge boost glitch, since if you recall what that does, it gives me an additional 12.5% boost to my Pokemon stats due to the badge boosts that you get from, I believe, the odd-numbered gym badges in attack, defense, special, and speed. But I didn't actually end up using it for Lorelei because I was so close to leveling up again that it would kind of be a waste of a rare candy. She leads with Dugong, so I led with 2 Amnesias, and for some reason she decides to go for 2 rests in a row with Dugong, allowing me to use a single Thunderbolt, KOing it, and leading to Cloyster. It goes down with a one-shot, as does Slowbro, so Jinx is out 4th, and it's not weak to Electric, so Thunderbolt doesn't one-shot as she lands a Body Slam. She outspeeds and uses Fake Tears, letting me follow up with a Tri-Attack for the KO, leaving just Lapras. By the way, I got Tri-Attack off of the same roof of the department store, so very helpful move. Thunderbolt is a one-shot on Lapras, winning me the fight and the first of 5 League battles. Now I am able to capitalize on my 9 rare candies. I decided to use just one of them between Lorelei and Bruno to get the level 68, then went into this fight because it's likely going to be an easy one. He starts off with Onyx, so I spend 2 turns going for Amnesia, with him going for an X-Defended Screech as I outspeed and land an Ice Beam on the 3rd turn, KOing and leading to Hitmonchan. Thunderbolt's a one-shot on Hitmonchan as it is on Hitmonlee, leading to the 2nd Onyx. Ice Beam does it again, leaving just Machamp to barely not go down to a Thunderbolt. And of course, KOs himself with Submission, but he also KOs me too, which does not count as a victory for the player since I deposited my HM users, and ended up being a draw, I guess? But there's no draws in Pokemon, but that's fine, I'll just go for 3 Amnesias on the 2nd attempt. And sure enough, that ends up being plenty enough to one-shot everything on his team with Thunderbolt and Ice Beam. Can't keep me down for long, Bruno. After all, you are the worst league member. I went ahead and used a few rare candies between Bruno and Agatha, getting Bidoof to level 72 before the battle since I'm sure it'll be a little bit more difficult compared to the last 2. She leads with Gengar, so of course I start with Amnesia as she goes for Shadow Ball. Bidoof's immune, I couldn't imagine why, as she follows up next turn with a Dark Pulse. I'm kind of not flinching at these moves that are introduced in later gens, I'm just accepting the fact that they're here. Amnesia number 2 is set up, but I decide to take the bait and go for a 3rd, as she moronically uses Dream Eater while Bidoof is not asleep. Good job, idiot, now it's time to lose. Thunderbolt is all the rage these days, taking out Gengar, Golbat, Haunter, Arbok, and Gengar number 2, only taking a Toxic from that last Pokemon before winning. Alright, I'm not out of the woods yet, though that battle was much easier than I had initially thought it would be. I guess it pays to be using a normal type with extraordinary special abilities, especially against a ghost type user. 2 more to go, and Lance shouldn't be bad if Agatha wasn't. He leads off with a Gyarados, as I immediately jump in with a Thunderbolt after taking a Leer. There are no threats on his team that aren't weak to either Ice Beam or Thunderbolt, so using Amnesia kinda seems like a waste of time here. He'll follow that up with a Dragonair, who has a cute sprite, but isn't long for this world after an Ice Beam. Dragonair number 2 suffers the same fate, leaving just Dragonite and Aerodactyl. He opts for the latter, going for a Crunch Critical as Thunderbolt takes it out, leaving just Dragonite to get outsped by this lovable dork of a Pokemon, going down to a single Ice Beam, and perhaps being the most miserable of the league to go down to a single Bidoof, despite me not even using a single Amnesia. At least Bruno needed me to use 3 of them to one-shot his Machamp. Shame on you, Lance. But now it is time for the final battle. Can Bidoof pull off the victory at a meager level 76? Well, let's find out. Pidgeot is his lead, of course, and he misses Sky Attack, which gives me 2 free turns of Amnesia as he goes for Wing Attack for around 80 damage. By this point, Bidoof is going to outspeed his whole team, so Thunderbolt is plenty enough to take care of Bird Brain here, leading to the actual brain of his team, Alakazam. He sets up Reflect. I guess he's not the brain. Pretty useless against Bidoof since I went for Thunderbolt, KOing immediately and leading to Rhydon. I outspeed Rhydon, Ice Beam's a one-shot, and that's half his team already. Next out is Arcanine, and somehow it manages to live through a +6 Thunderbolt on basically 1 HP. Using Roar for some godforsaken reason when there's no other Pokemon in my party, letting me finish it off and likely the only Pokemon on his team that's not a one-shot. That's proven pretty handily as both Executor and Blastoise go down to an Ice Beam and Thunderbolt respectively, winning me the League Championship and the challenge at a measly level 76. I did not expect Bidoof to come out on this challenge at that level, really. I honestly thought that I'd have to get to maybe level 90 or higher, and that's mostly because I had no clue what Bidoof was going to learn throughout this challenge. I scripted all of this in hindsight, especially because movesets for Gen 2 and onward Pokemon that are not actually, like, in Generation 1 are not recorded for this. At least I couldn't find any in my research, so I just went off the cuff throughout this challenge. Amnesia ended up being a godsend, otherwise I probably would have been in quite the heap of trouble. But hey, at least we can say that Bidoof is actually quite broken in terms of Generation 1. Next time on the channel though, we're going back to the Professor Oaks challenge in our first ever Mystery Dungeon game on the channel, as I'll be completing the Oak challenge and Super Mystery Dungeon for the 3DS. See you guys then! If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, tell a friend, and don't spend more than a minute doing that, since if you are, you're taking too long. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this, and I'll see you guys next time with another challenge. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.